All right, time for our weekly Buckeye Breakdown with the great Bobby Carpenter, former Buckeye player, Dallas Cowboy, and, of course, Morning Juice fame now, 97.1 The Fan, 10 TV Plus every morning. And let's talk about the schedule. The schedule's the schedule. The who's on your schedule, and Purdue is struggling right now, but they're on the schedule, and Ryan Day, I think, is handling it perfectly. He's got respect for their coach over there, first-year guy. He thinks he's doing a good job, but, they're struggling. But weird things happen. I know the fans don't want to hear it. On paper, this is a game Ohio State should win easily, but weird things happen, especially over there.
Yeah, Ross-Ade Stadium is always kind of unique, and you go and you look back, and everybody remembers that 2018 loss that happened. The shootout, trying to score, trying to chase points. We're never able to catch it. I believe that was Ryan's first year here. He was the offensive coordinator. And I think in that game, Dwayne Haskins threw the ball 70 times. It was something that was a far cry from what you'd seen, or 60 times, some crazy amount that we had never seen in a game before. And we lost back there in 2004 when I was part of the team. So it's a weird environment. You start looking at start times, and it's always kind of a sleepy feel to the game. But this Purdue team, they can run the ball fairly well. They don't really throw it all that well. But if you look at their last couple of games, played Michigan 21-16, played them tougher, I think, than people expected. But they do like to get on the ground, run the football. So that'll be a challenge for this Buckeye front seven to be able to slow that down. And if you can make it a one-dimensional game and try to force them to throw it through the air, they do not have gaudy passing numbers. They don't have a lot of elite weapons on the outside. So I think that plays into Ohio State from that point.
Ryan Day always says it's about us, not the opponent. And obviously you got to defend the opponent and everything. But when he says that, what do you think he's thinking in a game like this when he says it's about us?
Well, they're going to grade the film based upon how good Ohio State is, not how good Purdue is. It's when you're playing these teams, there obviously is a talent disparity. There's going to be a gap there. They should be able to make the plays, but he's going to grade that thing with a fine-tooth comb, and they're going to go back and look and say, are we getting better? Are we improving? Not just did we win. Did you just beat the guy across from you? Were you able to win on a route? Were you able to make the tackle? But is it as good as it could have been? Because they're all in the development business. And Ryan always talks about trying to build and get better and better, and you're stacking the foundation and continuing to improve. So they're going to make sure that it's about them. And that's why everybody gets excited and gets upset sometimes, or, well, this Ohio State team isn't going out and scoring a lot of points. They're not throwing it a lot. You saw last week, when they want to go downtown, if people want to play man-to-man coverage and do this, they can take shots. The receivers are elite. Everybody knows it. You heard the credit that was given to them last week. But they want to continue to develop this running game and try to figure out where they're good, how they can continue to figure out this backfield rotation, and who's going to be getting the ball in certain situations.
All right, I want to go back to Ross-Ade. As you mentioned, you lost there in 2004. 2018, Urban Meyer lost there and it is. I've been there when Ohio State has lost. I go back to when Earl Bruce and Mike Tomczak lost there. What is it about that place? And, over the years, Purdue's had good football teams. I mean, they had a lot of great quarterbacks come out of that university, but it's just, you're right, it's a weird vibe. But is there anything else? And because, you look at the record and you go, how did Ohio State lose to this team?
Well,
and we're talking great coaches losing.
Oh, Urban Meyer was over there, Jim Tressel. I mean, some good quality squads. And in the past, Purdue, you're correct, Tom. They did have, they had Drew Brees, Kyle Orr. They had three quarterbacks that came through that were all starting in the NFL at one point in time. So they used to have a little more talent. Part of the issue, I think, is it's a sleepy feel. Like their fans coming in, they don't anticipate an upset, so there's not really the energy. It's easy to get going and get ready when you're walking into Penn State for a wideout, or when you're heading up to go play Michigan up in the Big House, or those big-time games out at Oregon, or when we play Texas next year. But sometimes it's like Northwestern. It's a little bit of a sleepy feel. There's not really the energy. And when you're Ohio State, you're used to having that all the time. So they have to create that energy. They have to be ready to go from the jump. And then they have to find a way to sustain that there through the first half and into the second.
Well, let me ask you this, because Ryan Day worries about everything. He sweats the details. And, he is constantly saying, block the noise out, and he's guarding against letdowns. With that said, it's not easy. Woody Hayes used to say you could only get up for so many football games. And now you look at how long this season is. These kids can read the newspaper. They can read what's on the internet. They know that this is not a very good Purdue football team. What does Ryan Day do? Because you know as well as I do, especially in the NFL, the Super Bowl champion and the last team that finishes last in the NFL, there's not that much separation. They give scholarships out at Purdue. They have NIL money at Purdue. They have talented players at Purdue. They're struggling right now. But what does Ryan Day do to make sure his kids understand? And is it as simple as say, hey, look at what happened to Miami. Look at what's happened to Texas. Look at the chaos in college football.
I think that's it. You pull up and you show what happened last weekend with some of these other teams. When you're a top 10 team, with Georgia Tech losing, with Miami losing, it only takes one. And Ryan, the term he always uses, don't put the game at risk. Don't put it at risk out there and making sure that you're not up to your par. And it really starts on Tuesday and Wednesday, making sure the preparation is there through the week, because it's not just getting up for the game, it's getting up to prepare for the game, to make sure that you're preparing and your habits are the same as what they would be regardless of who the opponent is. And so that's one of the big focuses that a head coach has to make. And that's Ryan, is the evolution as a head coach, where you see him as the offensive play caller and you're worried about this. Now it's, hey, we're worried about this thing holistically, about making sure that when we come to Saturday, we've done the same way as we did against Texas, as they did against Penn State, as you do against Washington. The fact that it's Purdue should not matter at all. And so that's when he always is like, well, we're grading against ourselves. That is, I believe, what he's talking about.
And the history, you think about it, Bob, every year it seems like there's one game that you scratch your head. I mean, because it's not easy to win at this level. I keep hammering it, and the fans don't want to hear it. And Ohio State has spoiled us because they make it look easy. But you look back at the history. Urban Meyer losing at Iowa, you're scratching your head. Urban Meyer lost to Michigan State a year after winning the national title, maybe with a better team, and you scratch your head. Weird things happen. You look at, I look at when Ryan Day, the week before the first time he lost to Michigan, the week before, Michigan State comes in here ranked, and Ohio State runs them out of the stadium, and then they go up to Ann Arbor, and you're like, what happened?
So part of it is, too, and you want to talk about how do you keep them ready and keep them going and prepared, is you just look at the end of the first half from last week. And you're an Ohio State team, and it's 17-7. You're thinking you're going to go score and be able to put this game out of reach. Instead, you put the game at risk by putting the ball on the ground, put your defense in a bad spot, and then instead of going on 3 scores up at half potentially, it's a 3-point game. And so you get the ball, so you have to go make sure that you set the tempo early in that second half. But that's not something that they wanted to do. And so he'll take those things, and the coaches will coach to that and understand, if you lose focus in this game for 1 minute, turnovers are the great equalizer. And for Purdue to be able to win this game, similarly to Penn State, I said they've got to run the ball and they've got to create turnovers. Well, once you create that turnover, then all of a sudden that margin starts shrinking down. And so weird things happen. They've got the world's largest drum out there, Dom. Maybe there's some magic around that. Who knows? But it's going to be a fun one. And I just like watching this team every week to see how they improve, see how they get a little bit different. What are they trying to develop each and every week as they continue to get better through this season?
All right, the first college football playoff rankings out. No big surprise. Ohio State is number 1. Indiana is number 2. Everyone's talking about that collision that could happen in the Big Ten title game. But Ryan Day don't want to talk about any of that. But how much bigger is the target now? Because this is the one that counts.
I think everybody kind of knew that they were going to be there. But, yeah, you're right. It's there, Indiana being 2. And I think a lot of people want to just fast forward the season and say, let's get to Indy and let's go play Indiana and have a 1 versus 2. And it's crazy to think that that's the matchup that it would potentially be. But I think that goes back to Ryan of focusing on the process. We're not going to play in the Big Ten championship. By the way, if we lose, we could put our season opportunity at risk to be able to do that and be able to get a bye and potentially all of the things and win a Big Ten championship. So you can't fast forward that. You need to focus on the other team that they play in the state of Indiana, and that's the Purdue Boilermakers, and they're going to be heading out there on Saturday.
Yeah, and the other thing he says is make the routine. And he doesn't want to talk about the awards, the postseason awards, although us in the media, we do like to talk about it. And no offense, if Julian Sayin's not the front runner, then I don't know anything about football. This kid's been amazing.
Well, Julian Sayin has been absolutely tremendous. The 80+% completion percentage is almost unfathomable to think at this point in the season.
For a 19-year-old.
For a 19-year-old in his first year as a starter. But you look at his receivers, J.J. Smith, Carnell Tate, they had 11 targets, 11 catches. almost 250 yards receiving between them, a couple touchdowns in there. Like, they have the weapons. And what is awesome is what we're starting to see with Julian. This is what I want to keep watching, the scrambles, watching him move in the pocket, either to pick up yards or to buy time. And we're really watching him just mature in front of our eyes. I mean, there's a good chance he'll be in New York. There's a good chance JJ might be in New York with him. Good chance that Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith will both be Biletnikoff finalists. Like, this team is loaded with talent, and that's why Ryan knows it. And don't focus on that. The awards, they take care of themselves when you win.
Last thing, we could talk about it. If they run the table, if they go up to Ann Arbor and win, is Julian Sayin in New York getting the Heisman?
I think it's a very real possibility. We'll have to see how it all plays out, but I mean, there's only a handful of guys, I think, that have separated themselves, and he's definitely leading that pack.
He's the one and only Bobby Carpenter. Daily Morning Juice, 10 TV Plus, 97.1 The Fan. In other words, folks, keep it on 10 TV, 10 TV Plus, and 97.1 The Fan for the best Buckeye coverage there ever will be.